His name is Kenneth Hendrickson. Kenneth, if you're here, come on up. Let's give him a round of applause for his warm welcome.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started, I just want to thank the Portage County Tea Party for having us out here tonight, giving us an opportunity to have this discussion, and all the work they do standing up for small government ideas. Also, I just have to say I'm really excited to be able to talk to you here tonight for about 10 minutes because I do a lot of talking and usually no one's listening, so I'm really excited about this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kenneth Hendrickson Jr. and I'm running for the state representative here in the 75th District. Very quick background, I'm a Portage County native, from T-ball to being captain of my high school football team. I've made a lot of really great memories, met a lot of really wonderful people. I attended Suffield Elementary, went to Field High School, and then to Kent State University, where I studied political science before graduating from Virginia College's Golf Academy of America in Orlando, Florida. Came back, worked as an assistant golf pro at Congress Lake Club, and when the snow fell, instead of moving south, I found work through KeyBank, where I am today, servicing products for our corporate clients. Now, I often get asked, what is your platform? Why are you running? And I'll tell you, at some point, I learned some principles that I know to be true, and the same principles that I believe the majority of people know to be true, and I'm baffled as to why there are so few people standing up for them. Ideas that when you write them down on paper by themselves in black and white, you'd be hard-pressed to find any sensible person who would disagree with them. But a funny thing happens when you start associating them with political parties. We've been peddled hate and division for so long that we've forgotten the truth, and we don't know what we're fighting for anymore or who we're even fighting. We've completely quit looking at each other as human beings. We now identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election. We're no longer neighbors and friends. We've been turned into enemies based solely on whose cardboard sign sits on our front lawn. And when you step back from it all, you're left with this sinking feeling and this alarming question of how did this happen? And when did this happen? And how do we fix it? And I heard Kirk Cameron say a while back, we have to quit complaining about the culture that we live in and go out and create the one that we want to live in. And that's why I'm running. And I think part of that is changing our idea of who our representatives are. If you look at who we choose as leaders, the grand majority of them tend to be lawyers and lobbyists. And it almost makes me chuckle that we pick these people who spend their entire professional lives looking for loopholes and ways to circumnavigate the law as it's written, and then we send them to our capitals and expect them to uphold the law. Where is the sample there that is representative of our population? Where are the truck drivers, and the electricians, and the scientists, and the farmers? Where are the builders, and the dreamers, and the thinkers? Where are the people that get up every day and work hard and try to do the right things, and why aren't they running for office, and why aren't we electing them? I was at one meeting on Common Core where the representative there said, when I look out and I see so many concerned citizens, I say to myself, it's time to put the brakes on. We got to talk about this. And I'm thinking, no, the time to talk about this was 3 years ago, $400 million ago, not now. Why do we settle for that? We need to create a farm team right now of constitutionally minded individuals from all walks of life who are ready to stand up for small government principles and individual liberty. Everyone knows already that we win on economic issues. We stand up for free market capitalism. You cut taxes where you can. In fact, the tax code's a complete disaster. It needs to be completely reformed to something more flat and more fair. We deregulate where you can, privatize where you can. Anytime the government's doing a job that private industry is capable of doing, then why are taxpayers funding it? And finally, reducing spending where you can. Entitlement policy should be reformed, and archaic and discriminatory programs like e-check should be done away with. It's not real hard, it's fiscal responsibility. You only use what you have. We know we can't spend our way out of debt. The same economic rules that apply to individuals apply to governments. These issues are the heart and soul of our party, and no one's questioning them, and if they do, we'll be happy to explain it to them. But that's not where conservatives have been losing elections. We lose elections because somewhere along the way we have blurred the line between our personal beliefs and what it means to defend small government and individual liberty. And that causes inconsistency, and no one likes inconsistency, well, except maybe progressives. That's the one thing the left does consistently, is be inconsistent. Something like championing gay rights while funding the Muslim Brotherhood, who is the sworn enemies of homosexuals, or insisting on calling changes in climate global warming, even though we've seen no warming for over 17 years now. I know we've all seen The Day After Tomorrow, and for some reason global warming makes it colder outside, but the point is that we've become just as inconsistent as the left. We say we're the defenders of small government, personal choice, and personal responsibility, but we still feel the need to legislate morality back to people. And it may be the fact that many of us are Christians, and so we feel bound to standing up for what we know are eternal truths. Or it may be that we turn on our televisions and see the advanced moral decay of society, and we feel the only way to stop it is to try and get back to God's law. The problem with both of these is that they are cultural issues. These are things we go out into our communities and talk with our friends and our neighbors about because we feel it's important. We change the hearts and minds of people, not the law. We've chosen to fight these battles through legislation instead of simply on the battlefield of ideas. Our laws must be equal and they must be just. And if we're going to be the party of small government, individual liberty, then we better start meaning it. The funny thing about liberty is sometimes it's ugly and it's messy. Sometimes you may be offended by the things people say or do. But we don't have a right to not be offended in this country. We have to draw a very clear line in the sand here, and it has to do with the role of government. And the role of government should be to protect your natural rights, your God-given rights. And if we let that become the core of our platform, all of a sudden everything is consistent. Everything makes sense again. Falls into this radical notion that other people are not our property, and they get to have their own beliefs and make their own decisions, even if they are different from our own. In fact, as long as they're not infringing on your natural rights, you have no claim on their actions. And we have to be able to defend those who we disagree with because they have the right to do so, to believe differently than we do. Freedom is oftentimes dangerous. Thomas Jefferson said, "Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty." But let us remember again who the enemy is. The opposite of freedom is control. This isn't about right and left anymore. This is about right and wrong. This is about freedom and control, and as long as we continue to blur the line between a government that makes sense, promoting freedom, promoting choice, responsibility, but at the same time aim to corner you into making decisions that satisfy our religious doctrine, we will be perceived as a party of control no different from those on the left. We have to be a party that looks into the future and sees a party made up of all liberty-minded individuals. I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, Buddhist, Jewish, atheist, young or old. It doesn't matter if you support small government and individual liberty. I want you on my side. I will walk in the same direction as you in the matter of freedom, because as human beings, that's what we need to be. Sure, we're going to disagree from time to time, but we can walk in that same general direction. And it doesn't matter the issue when you start to understand your rights and where they come from, and you look at it through the scope of natural rights and individual freedom, it simplifies it. You have a right to life, a right to defend your life, a right to defend your family and your property, your right to practice any religion you want, to speak your mind, to gather with friends and neighbors, and a right to be secure in your own person. And as long as you're not infringing on my natural rights, what difference does it make to me how you spend your time here? The point is that we don't need the government to run our lives and tell us what to do. If cocaine were legal tomorrow, how many of you would go to use it? Probably none of you. And why is that? It's because you're smart enough to know not to use cocaine without the government telling you not to. And I'm not trying just to be facetious. I'm using absurdity to illustrate absurdity, because we're at an absurd point in time where governments in the United States of America are regulating the size of a soda you can drink. Because we all know you're not qualified or smart enough to know when you've had enough Dr. Pepper. The point is that this is your life, and you live it the way you see fit. We often make moral decrees based on what the Bible says. Well, the Bible also says that God gave us free will, and that some people, no matter how hard you try, will never return to Him, no matter how obvious His power is to them. If God had enough faith in us to let us make our own decision, why don't we have enough faith in each other to make our own decisions? I will always side with those who want more voices, not less. More choices, not less. We hear all these issues and it beats us down that gay marriage is the civil rights issue of our time, or income inequality. I contend that we're at a point right now where we are talking about the Bill of Rights. This is the civil rights issue of our time. These are the things that are under siege through the NSA, the IRS, NDAA, Obamacare, Common Core, and we are on the precipice now. We have a choice to make. Do we stand for the unassailable principles of liberty for all human beings, or are we going to continue to be a party that tries to legislate morality, a party of exclusion? And it's not that my opponent is a bad guy or he can't do the job. I know Nick to be an honorable man, a family man. Obviously, a successful businessman, I have tremendous amounts of respect for him for that. In fact, I'm confident that we agree far more than we disagree. It's simply that we have two different views of where our party is headed. I happen to believe that liberty issues are where we need to focus our energies into the future if we want to be relevant going forward, and I believe I'm the best equipped candidate to stand up to for those issues against Kathleen Clyde and in the Ohio House after we win this November. And we also know this: if the same people who come out to vote in this election that came out for Nick the last time he ran, the result will be no different. If you want someone in this district to stand up for small government principles and mean it, then we have to find a way to attract new voters, young voters. The average voter of 2014 looks a lot different than the average voter of 25 years ago, whereas before it took a large organization and massive amounts of money. Today, you can get the vote out with a mobile device and a Wi-Fi hotspot, and we have to have candidates who are cognizant of that fact. People are tired of apologizing for their political party on both sides of the aisle and looking for something to unite on. And this is it. The principles of liberty should be what we can all agree on. These are the principles that led men to pledge to each other their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. That led men who were farmers and blacksmiths and carpenters to stand up to the greatest military force in the entire world and fight like men who were determined to live free. To be free to make my own choices, be free to bear the consequences of my actions because they are mine and mine alone, that equal opportunity doesn't mean equal results, that with a little faith, the right attitude, and hard work, a man can accomplish anything he sets his mind to, that the only justice is blind, equal justice, that you don't spend more than you take in. You take care of yourself and your family first, and then you help those who cannot help themselves. That we are all people and we should treat each other with respect and decency and love each other because it's the right thing to do. And that's what the Tea Party is about. And these aren't things that you learn in school or college. These are things you learn as you grow up, and you know them in your heart because they are the truth. It baffles me that a country founded on these beliefs has strayed so far from them, and that's why it's so important to create movements like this all across our state and across our country and elect like-minded representatives to want to apply these ideas back to government, to restore the promise of the Constitution that we will preserve the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. But it starts here. It starts with each of you in our own houses, our own communities, and meetings like this. It starts right here, and I believe that with your support, we can accomplish great things together. I appreciate your consideration and you giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. Don't forget to check out our Facebook, facebook.com/KennyForFreedom, and our website, KennethHendricksonJr.com. Thank you all so much. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Ohio.
All right, thanks, Kenneth. Appreciate that. And you'll be able to speak with him personally at the break. Our next speaker is Nick Skiriotis. Nick has been a candidate